Hello and welcome back. Alright, so today we're going to talk about SATRANs. That's Satellite Reconnaissance Advanced Notice. It basically is a way to look at where satellites are going to be instead of where they're currently at. We have a few different options to run SATRAN. I'm going to just start with the first one, and that's this single SATRAN option. What that means is it will look for the first time a specific satellite comes over this mask angle above the horizon. In this case, it's 20 degrees. So we're going to look for the first time the ISS comes above 20 degrees above the horizon to Colorado Springs, Colorado. So let's get this one going. And it will take a little while, not too long. I'm going to pause it and I'll be back as soon as it's complete. Okay, and now that it's complete, we'll go back to the Google Earth window. I will right click and revert, and there you have it. There is the first time the SATRAN works for the ISS in view of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And as you can see, it will be sometime tomorrow morning UTC time. So that's the first way to look at a SATRAN. Alright, we're going to look at another way to do a SATRAN, and this has to do with this section over here saying SATRAN. If you'll look, there are a number of options over here on the left. The first is generate SATRAN. If that's unchecked, then it won't generate the SATRAN, even though this may be selected to run. It will only generate the SATRAN report if that is selected. The other option is show SATRAN links. What that means is it will just show a yellow line from the satellite to the ground site for each of those specific points. Just makes it a little bit easier to see what you're looking at. Generate all first accesses shows each of the first accesses as it comes up over that mask angle above the horizon, and you can see where each of those first accesses are. If that is unchecked, it will only generate the first of any of the SATRANs that it sees. And then finally, generate SATRAN report exports all of the data into a CSV or Excel type file so that you can use it for future or further reference. So as long as SATRAN here is selected to on, you can choose however many days from 1 to 10 in the future that you want to see for any particular satellite or group of satellites. This works for the multiple as well as the constellation functions, and I'll show you a multiple one shortly. But in the meantime, let's just look for the ISS for the next 2 days in the future. So we'll go back here and then I will select single. And this typically takes maybe a minute or so depending. The first day usually takes a lot longer than any successive day. So the second day and the third day really don't take that much longer than the first day. So we'll be back as soon as that completes. Okay, and now that we're complete, you'll notice that a CSV file popped up with 6 accesses for the ISS representing the next 2 days. So from May 14th at 4:37 a.m. to May 16th also at 4:37 a.m. It shows the time that that SATRAN report was run and its offset from UTC, the duration and the mask angle that it's looking at. The access then shows the start time and end time of it, the duration of each of those accesses, the max elevation, the azimuth at the time of max elevation, and the actual time of max. And I will go into that shortly on what that really represents. In the meantime, let's go back and go to Google Earth, and there you have it. As you can see, the orbit for the ISS is still in its current orbit, and it shows its current position, which is over here. However, it is now generated these 6 accesses for the ISS for the next 2 days. If you want to represent the orbits themselves. I'll show you a quick way to do that. Let's go back to the Satellites tab, and we're going to uncheck Display Orbit in Inertial versus Fixed Frame, and then I will uncheck Auto Choose Orbits, and you can see 16 orbits is currently what's selected. Let's go to, for the next 2 days, we know the ISS does about 15.5 per day, so let's choose 31, and we're going to go back and we'll run the SATRAN again the same way, and let's see what the result is. I'll be back as soon as it is completed. Okay, and now that that's completed, let's see what that looks like. And you can now see that the orbit in fixed frame lines up with each of those 6 positions for the next 2 days for the ISS. So that's a quick way to see the actual orbits of the satellites without being too cluttered, and it gives you a pretty good and interesting view of what that satellite looks like. Alright, so let's go back. I want to show you another option to see where that satellite will maybe come overhead for the highest axis. Let's look at this one, and if you see, the max elevation was 76.1153 degrees at an azimuth of 231.3748. That's good to know. So we're going to look, and I will right click this and copy the time of max for that area. Let's go back here. We're going to recheck Display Orbit and Inertial Frame. I'm going to go to the Date and Time tab, and then we're going to uncheck Time Now and check Given Alternate DTG for Date Time Group. So scrolling down a little bit, we're going to right click, paste just the values so that it doesn't change any of the formatting of that cell, and then you'll see that that time is now in that position. So let's go back to the Satellites tab, and I haven't shown you this option yet, but there is a KML Iterations tab. If you hit right and go all the way to the right, you can see this for constellation, multiple, and single. So we're concerned with the single satellite. Let's just hit 1. What this means is that it will generate a completely different number and a completely different KML set for that satellite, and all you have to do is number it respectively 2, 3, 4, whatever you'd like. And we're going to go back to the Mid tab, ensure that SATRAN is selected to off, go back to the left and select Run, and it will run 1 time. Okay, and now that that has completed, let's go back to the desktop. You'll notice that it says single 1, and we'll open that up. And there you go. That is the inertial frame view of that satellite at its highest elevation overhead. It's an interesting way to see it, and just one of the other options that you have available to you with the workbook. Okay, now we're going to go back to Use Current Time. We're going to go back to the Date Time tab. Make sure Given Alternate DTG is unchecked. Go back to the Satellite tab. And really quickly, we're going to show you what multiple SATRAN looks like. If you'll notice, I have the ISS and some of the imaging satellites. Preset group number 2. We'll go back to the Satellites tab. Going to go to Mid. Let's do, again, 2 days in the future. We'll turn SATRAN back to on. Go back here to the left and click Multiple. Yes, we want to generate SATRAN for multiple satellites. This may take a little bit of time, so I will be back as soon as it's done. Okay, now that we're back, you'll notice that there is an Excel export or CSV export for each of those 5 satellites, showing the number of accesses that each one of them has over the next 2 days. It will work for significantly longer periods. It just takes a longer period of time. And that one there took about 2 minutes or so to generate. So we're going to go back and reset all of our defaults. And for now, that concludes this instructional video on the orbital dynamics calculation spreadsheet. Thank you, and come back next time.